All right, we're now live, so you can start your timer.
All right. Timer started.
All right, cool. All right. 3, 2, 1. Hello, fuck that. That sounded awful. Almost fuck. Dude, I suck at this. I'm just going to be real. All right, 3. Should I do like hello, everybody, or what should I do?
Whatever you want.
All right. What's good, everybody? I'll say what's good, everybody. All right. 3, 2, 1. What's good, everybody? Welcome to the January. Fuck. Actually, are you gonna drop it tomorrow? You have time to do it tomorrow or Tuesday?
Yeah, I can do tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Because I forgot to ask that because then I was like, oh wait, what date am I saying? All right. What's good, everybody? Welcome to the January 29th episode of the Go With The Flow podcast. This week, joined by only one of my line mates. We got a guy and we got a fuck. I was gonna say Dan's on IR this weekend.
Oh.
Yeah. All right. Now.
But
3, 2, 1. What's good, everybody? Welcome to the January 29th edition of the Go With The Flow podcast. I'm Nick Phillips, joined as always by my line mate Kevin Bartman. Unfortunately, Dan Merritt's is on IR this week with some other obligations, so it's just going to be Kevin and I just kind of going back and forth. No guests this week, so we're going to kind of just shoot the shit and see how it goes this week. But Kevin,
we got the
PK
this week.
Yeah, right.
That's what we got.
Yeah, shorthanded. So
yeah,
real funny hockey puns from us to start the show. Yeah, so maybe we'll just get right into it. We're recording here Sunday night. Yesterday was the skills competition, and obviously the 3 20-minute combined games and such with a lot of unders hitting. I think they all hit the under. So
they all hit, yeah.
They all hit the under, and I think one of the games last year was 1-0. But Kevin, I guess I'll pass along to you. Any takeaways from All-Star Weekend? It could be the games, any of the winners from any of the competitions, maybe any kind of improvements you think could be made. Just what are your initial thoughts on this past weekend and what went down in Tampa?
Well, first of all, my biggest takeaway was Brock Besser stole the show. Like,
with his hair or what?
Everything. Guy's got a mop on his head. Nice little head of hair going. He's got a wicked wrist shot, too. We saw he scored. Was it in the or no? That was against. It was in their semifinal match. He just ripped one over the blocker, tucked it right in the top corner. It was one of the prettiest shots I've seen in a long time. So yeah, he just kind of I haven't really got to see him much because he plays in Vancouver, but he is really sick.
And the day before, he won the accuracy contest.
Yeah, he did.
So here's a little note from Frank Saravelli about Besser. So Brock Besser took home almost $550,000 in a car for NHL All-Star MVP. So he got $212,500 worth of bonuses by making the team. Because he was the MVP, he got that same amount as a bonus. He got $91,000 from the winning team split from, being on the winning Pacific team. And when he won the shooting accuracy contest, he got another $25,000. So not bad for a guy on an entry-level contract. I'm sure he appreciated the experience and, also took home a shit ton of money. So that was awesome. But I'm going to say my biggest takeaways this weekend were definitely Kucherov and Marchand. Marchand didn't really do anything noteworthy other than just being a fucking hilarious troll the whole weekend. He just he loved the spotlight and loved getting booed. And I mean, that stuff just fuels him on a game-to-game basis anyway. But with all the attention on him, and especially after the 5-game suspension for that elbow on Johansson, which we're going to talk about later. But I mean, honestly, the guy was hilarious all weekend. And Kucherov, man, is just an absolute animal. He had the hat trick in the one game, and then the third goal for the hat trick, the fake move where he just let the puck go, was outrageous. And some of those shootout moves were sick in the goalie competition too. He didn't bury the one, but there was this one where it was so cheeky. I wish it went in. He'd hit the post, but man,
like he made that move look so smooth. Like I can't even
Full
imagine how
speed.
hard it is to actually do. Yeah,
Yeah.
in a game, I not necessarily a game situation, like quote unquote game situation, but still like going full speed to pull that off. That takes some balls, first of all, because if you mess that up, you just look like an idiot. But like that just shows like this guy's for real. If you didn't know about him, watch him. He did it in a shootout too last year, right?
You said in practice, I think earlier off the air, right?
Yeah, and then I saw something on Twitter that he did it in a shootout against like Anaheim or something.
Ugh. Yeah,
So
he's
that's
something,
even
man.
yeah, that's incredible.
The whole Tampa thing is unreal this year, and they had Braden Point, who was pretty entertaining. He finished only a tenth of a second behind McDavid in the skating contest. I didn't think anyone would come close to McDavid. They were saying earlier on Saturday that they were having the NHL was having trouble finding participants for the event because everyone was like, "Well, I'm not going to beat McDavid, so why am I going to go waste my time or pull a hammy or something out here like trying to beat?"
Yeah,
McDavid.
I was gonna say that's the one event where like you can kind of risk injury.
Absolutely. So they were having trouble there, but Point was fun, and they had Vasilevsky, Stammer, and obviously Kucherov. But beating a dead horse, the whole Kucherov thing this year is unreal. I don't know what the odds were, but we talked about with Grinelli the futures bet on our last episode almost a couple weeks ago. I mean, the fact I didn't even throw like $5 down on Kucherov or something. I mean, I should have really investigated that one. That's going to be it's going to haunt me for a while. That's
Yeah, there's probably
unfortunate because I mean,
a lot of value in that.
I said it on this, I said it on here. I just didn't put my money where my mouth was. I just I forgot about it. But yeah. So that was that. What are your thoughts on just the state of the All-Star game? It's now the second year we've had this mini, semifinal tournament where you've got the 3 20-minute games. It's 3-on-3. Do you like it? Do you think it can be improved? I mean, I thought it was entertaining, and I think the money factor obviously brings out some effort. I mean, you saw some D-men breaking up some 2-on-1s and stuff. Obviously, you're not going to see a lot of physicality, but I mean, I think it's pretty entertaining. I don't know what else they could really do. I mean, you wish they could go for more than 60 minutes, but I understand why coaches wouldn't want goalies playing that long and stuff like that, especially with the fact that a lot of these games and a lot of these teams are going to be resuming on Tuesday. So any improvements, or do you like the way it is?
Not off the top of my head, I can't really think of anything that would immediately improve it. I think the NHL did a really good job of, turning it into a 3-on-3 tournament that made it so, they did all they can to make it as competitive as possible without it looking like they're trying too hard to, manufacture something that, is just fake entertaining. It's definitely better because I actually kind of was looking forward to it as opposed to just in recent years or before they switched the format where it's just a regular 5-on-5 game.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be like 20-17 or something. This, it takes the most exciting part of the game, the 3-on-3, and just that's all you see for the entire duration of the night. So I think it's pretty cool. If they want to improve it, I don't really know off the top of my head what they could do. But
I've got an idea. How they can improve it.
Let's hear it.
Let's only do it 3 out of every 4 years, folks.
Oh,
that's how you improve it.
There's a zinger. Did you see Dylan Larkin on NHL's Instagram? They posted the logo for like San Jose All-Star game for next year, and then he just put in the comments, he's like, "Oh, Olympics?" ?
Oh, did he? I didn't see that.
Yeah, he did.
Man, I really want Chicago to get a All-Star game. It's been a while since the NBA's had one, or the United Center's hosted one. For either the Bulls or the Blackhawks, and they've had the Frozen Four in the draft. So I kind of got the sense that the Hawks ownership was potentially going to be interested in possibly having an All-Star game soon, especially with the popularity of the team and it being a central location, very accessible for Canadian fans as well as Midwestern fans and even East Coast fans and stuff. So I would like Chicago to get a game, but I have no idea if they're even trying. I mean, like I said, they had the Frozen Four, the past entry-level draft. So
I think another thing that might affect it is the NBA All-Star Game is going to be at the United Center in a few years. Maybe I think it's like 2020, isn't it?
yeah, it is.
So I think Chicago might just consider that like, oh, we'll just wait a few extra years before we try to get an All-Star game, NHL All-Star game.
Yeah, it's true.
I don't know. It makes sense.
They were blessed though with an extra outdoor game next year.
Yeah, thank God. Thank God.
Thank God.
It's been a while. It's been a whole year.
Just take the Bruins puck line now. Whatever it is, just hit the Bruins puck line. The Blackhawks, if you've ever wanted to see the worst hockey team on the planet, it wasn't the Arizona Coyotes not winning a game in regulation their first 20. It's never been any of these early 2000s expansion teams. It's never been some of these dismal Oilers teams. It is absolutely the Blackhawks outside. They're like a flock of birds. They all just shit themselves. It's outrageous. The games haven't even been close the last how many games they've played in them outside. I mean, Detroit waxed them at Wrigley. The Blues smoked them at Busch. They got killed in Minnesota by the Wild. I mean, I whatever.
Well, we beat the Penguins.
We did. Yeah. And I'd like to
smoke the Penguins.
I'd like to say they won that game because that's the one I was in attendance for. So, I mean,
there you go.
NHL, if you're listening, hook us up, and that'll be good. But yeah, speaking of the Blackhawks, maybe that's a good little transition to go talking about our Blackhawks. They had back-to-back games right before the All-Star break. A tough loss against Toronto, an unimaginably tough loss at home. They had a long streak of home games. Got shut out by Tampa, like the last three of them, and they got shut out by Tampa 2-0. Then they played Toronto, and the Blackhawks have found some really interesting ways to lose this year, but they managed to lose the game 6 seconds into overtime. Was that the quickest OT?
It was tied for it, I think.
It tied it?
Yeah.
Because it was Nylander. Duncan Keith got, slashes.
No, let's talk about the face-off first, though. Like,
it's a design.
Yeah.
It's a design play. I don't know how you don't see that coming. They just pushed the puck forward. It was a breakaway, and it was like, then it was done. It was just.
Like, I guess, Nylander is clearly much faster than Keith, but, like, that's one of those times where you realize, Keith losing a step. Like, he got just burned by Nylander, and then he just kind of had to, hit him right on the hands and kind of take their chances on a penalty shot, which we all saw how that turned out.
But are the Blackhawks back? And I know I didn't want to do it. I don't think anyone thinks I'm actually serious. I'm also not really that serious, but they had a little bit of positivity. They got a hat trick from Alex DeBrincat. He had been kind of going through some rookie season warts there for a bit after kind of coming on hot a little bit in the beginning of the year. He gets a hat trick at Detroit. Detroit looked like ass that last game. I think their minds were already, on the beach and stuff. But the Hawks, back-to-back, second half of back-to-back, went to Detroit. And, after a long home stretch, and they won 5-1. And, I bet the Hawks that game. I said, you know what? If they're going to make it a season, it's off a tough loss. If they're going to ever respond and have a good win, tonight's the night. Took them money line, puck line. That was good in that regard. But now over the weekend, over the All-Star break, you're hearing there. I heard some chatter that Crawford, they were hoping he was going to start skating, and stuff like that. So, I mean, then the last night, I think the three teams ahead of them all lost. So they've got 33 games left to go, and they're going to get Corey Crawford back, and they're 4 points out. I mean, obviously they got to jump a few teams, but I don't know what you think, Kevin. Do you think they have any chance of making a run? Do you think, and also do you think they're the fact that they're 4 points within striking distance of a wild card spot, does it lead you to believe that Bowman could still, Stan Bowman, that is the GM, do you think he can, do you think he'll possibly be entertaining the idea of being a buyer? Because you guys may recall at home a few years ago, Patrick Kane broke his collarbone, and a lot of people thought the Hawks season they'd pretty much written off the Blackhawks, and he went out and traded a first-round pick for Antoine Vermette, and they won the Stanley Cup. And a lot of people were like, hey, you know what? Kane's out. They might not, the playoffs could be iffy. They're certainly not going to go deep if they go in. Do they really want to give up a future asset? And I mean, here's another dilemma. Are the Blackhawks going to possibly give up any future assets with the playoffs kind of iffy? I'd be interested to hear what you think.
That's a good question, because after the Duclair trade, that's when everyone was kind of like, all right, this is the roster, this is the group that's gonna go into the playoffs. And then they started really stinking, and then, like you said, they pick up a much needed win in Detroit. So I would say, for my money, they keep this team. If anything, I feel like Stan might pick up some random ass defenseman. I don't know. He seems to have a thing for finding these diamonds in the rough from time to time. So if anything, maybe like a minor signing. I don't know. Yeah. I was looking at the other day potential defenseman targets, because that's what we obviously need if we're going to make a deep playoff run. There's really nothing that comes out to me as like
the rental market sucks. I mean, there's no reason to sugarcoat it. Like, it just sucks. Like, so I don't know. It seems like with how tight they are against the cap, some trade might require a roster player, but they kind of already traded the one guy who's like Panic, who had a little bit of a cap hit. So
yeah, and then they're also going forward, if they, I think that might be, it might not matter, but Dylan Sakura, we'll see him probably get signed in the not too distant future. So he'll probably be a nice addition to the bottom six, get some scoring there.
That'd be huge. Yeah, the bottom six hasn't been that productive recently. That's a big issue in my book.
I mean, right now he leads the NCAA in points per game. He also is a very high volume shooter, which would not hurt to have on the third or fourth line. But I just keep going back to, we need.
Can he play the point on the power play? I mean,
I don't know. They need
somebody, dude. They have Duncan Keith, folks at home, 0 goals right now. Obviously, you don't expect, we don't think he's Brent Burns, Erik Karlsson, any of these guys. But the fact of the matter is the Blackhawks have 0 offensive dependability on the blue line. They have 0 guy that you can count on to quarterback a power play. Connor Murphy's not that guy. Brent Seabrook's not that guy. Duncan Keith's not that guy. Michael Kempney's not that guy. Jordan Osterley's not that guy. Jan Rudda's not that guy. Cody Franzen's not that guy. They just don't have a guy that can shoot the puck. It's a shame. I think Mike Green would have been a fun pickup this year. I don't know what you think about that. I think just for that, their power play.
He was one guy that I thought would not be a bad pickup.
I hate him in his own zone. But yeah. I mean, they do need somebody that can shoot the puck on the blue line, because I think ultimately that's where their power play will stem from. And what are they? You were ranting to me about Dineen the other night.
He's talking, but so this year we rank 30 out of 31 in power play.
Who's behind us? Do you know who's behind us? I'd love to know.
Guess who? The Columbus Blue Jackets.
Really? That's actually surprising.
Yeah.
They're competitive.
Yeah. Exactly. I was very surprised to see that. And then when we won the cup, I guess is no surprise, we were like top 5 in the league in power play, which is also under Dineen's control. So I don't know what happened. I saw the other day that like at a practice, it was Kane, Seabrook, and someone else. They just talked to Dineen after practice for like an hour, just brainstorming about like what can we do on the power play. And then the next game, Brent Seabrook gets a power play goal in the first like 10 seconds. So
off a stick, but we'll take it.
Well, yeah, but you got to take what you can get.
Absolutely. All right, so that's the Blackhawks. They are in last place, and that's because there's a lot of teams playing well ahead of them. Minnesota, has got Parise back, and he jumped ahead. They jumped ahead of them. And how about Colorado? I mean, we got to talk about the Avs a little bit.
Unreal.
And specifically Nathan McKinnon. We had touched about him our last episode with Mike Grinelli from Spit and Chicklets and Barstool Sports about the impact he's had and, his chances to, win the Hart Trophy as the league's MVP. But if the Avs don't make the playoffs, it's going to be hard for him to win MVP, especially with the kind of numbers Kucherov's putting up right now and Tampa being in first place in the East. But how surprised are you by Colorado? Because, I thought it was just going to be another shitty year for them, and their roster didn't really change all that much. And you trade a guy like Duchesne, and
that might be one of the.
It has to be.
Yeah, because I was listening to Spit and Chicklets actually, and so Ryan Whitney brought up a great point. He was saying they knew for the longest time that Matt Duchesne wanted out of there. So when when you're going through a season with a guy on the team like that and you're playing with him, there's really no motivation. You're like, this guy doesn't even want to be here. Why should I try? So when they finally get him out of here.
And that's why we were saying he should have done it in the offseason.
Yeah. So when you finally get rid of him, you can be like, all right, now we got a group of guys. Like, these are the group of guys we want to be with. Everyone here wants to win. So I think that definitely played a role in their, little 10-game win streak, which was pretty incredible. I think it was like the first time since the 20s that the team that finished last the previous year had a 10-game win streak the following season, which is pretty remarkable.
They're getting some surprising goaltending out of Bernier, which a lot of people didn't expect, for him to go to a team like Colorado, a guy who's been, kind of bouncing around the league now for a couple of years, and then you go to a team like Colorado, who's not a very good possession team, notoriously. They're usually bombing the league of possession, and, that's typically happens with, struggling teams with a shaky defense. And all of a sudden, Colorado's right there. They're ahead of the Hawks. Whole division's really good. But another team that's been playing really well that I wanted to talk about is Philadelphia. And the Metropolitan right now, as we speak, as we, exit the All-Star weekend and head back into the stretch run of the regular season, is there are, here, let me count them because I got the standings in front of me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 teams in the Metro division right now are separated by 2 points. You've got Columbus at 57 as well as Pittsburgh. Then you've got Jersey and Philly at 56 and the Rangers and the Isles at 55. And there's a little bit of a discrepancy because of the games in hand and stuff. But, we've been talking a lot about the Central the last, couple episodes, obviously, as Chicago fans, and just kind of, admiring how well teams like Winnipeg, Nashville, and St. Louis are playing right now. But the Metro division right now is really damn good. And Philadelphia was on an absolute tear until they lost to Tampa right before the break. But them and Colorado are two really surprising teams, at least in my opinion. I don't know if you have any thoughts on Philly.
Yeah, Philly, I think it was maybe a couple of podcasts ago we started talking about it. Giroux and Voracek in particular, how they just kind of came out of nowhere and jumped into like the top 10 in the league in scoring. So, when you get production out of your big dogs, you can expect to be jumping up the standings. They pretty much came out of nowhere. Also, the Penguins, right around the same time we started talking about
they're hot.
Right around the same time we started talking about the Flyers, the Penguins stunk, and now they jumped up right into second place in the division.
You knew it was going to happen, though. You knew it was going to happen. Just it was a matter of when, not if.
There's just too much firepower on that team to be bad.
Mm-hmm.
Their power play is just watching their power play, especially as a Hawks fan, is
the movement. It's just the movement on it is wild. It's just wild. It's such
Phil Kessel is like, if I could put together a power play unit, I think I'd put Phil Kessel on that unit. Like, he is just so dangerous and sneaky.
Because you always have to worry about that shot.
Yeah, he just stands right on the back door and then someone feeds him.
I mean,
Tries to run his tape and he just puts it top shelf.
A lot of the good power play guys in the league, there's not really a whole lot to it. They just kind of pick a spot, find a soft area, and they kind of just swim there until they get the puck. I mean, you think of Ovechkin basically making a living at the left circle.
Yeah.
Kessel can shoot from pretty much anywhere, but he always finds the soft spots. And a guy, think of as a really good power play guy right now is Line. Just kind of doing the same thing Ovechkin basically does, is just kind of swimming at the circle, just waiting to just absolutely tee one off. So
Panarin did that too a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Kane just going cross ice to Panarin. I mean, that was kind of the bread and butter for a couple of years there. Short-lived, because they didn't really get a lot out of Panarin in the playoffs. But, Philly, though, is a really interesting team because I didn't think the Hawks are going to struggle like they are, but I was hoping maybe they could get a guy like Wayne Simmons or something at the deadline. I've always really liked his game. And he's a big, rugged winger that could score, and they need, speed and size and guys that can still put pucks in the net. And I think that's kind of why they got Saad back, But Philly, they're getting that production out of the top forwards. Their defense is really young, but it's like really, really good and interesting. I mean, you've got like Goss's Bears having a really nice bounce back year. Provorov, Sanheim, those kind of guys are really good.
Couturier came out of nowhere too.
Couturier, he started scoring all of a sudden. And, obviously maybe it's more of a change of scenery trade, so maybe he doesn't produce in Philly, but a guy we watched today and over this weekend is, Braden Shen. How good could Philly be if they kept Braden Shen? Is he an all-star if he stays in Philly? I'm going to have to probably say no. I guess maybe joining the culture, the Blues, is something that kind of reinvigorated his career and everything like that. But even with an absolutely dismal trade, getting Yuri Laterra for a guy that's playing in the All-Star game today, Philly's looking really good, and Brian Elliott's proven he can win a few games in the playoffs too. So Philly's an interesting team.
I was just gonna say Brian Elliott, like he's the one dark spot on that roster if I were to point one out. So they got a loaded goalie prospect, Carter Hart, who's just sitting in the holster. I don't know when he's gonna be ready. I think he's only fucking still 18.
I don't know his age, but
but like he wouldn't want to really rush him.
He's playing the last two World Juniors, so I think he's like 19, 20.
Yeah, so I'm sure they don't really want to rush him into the NHL. They just want to make sure he's ready, which I think he will be in maybe a year or so. I'm not really a prospects analyst. I'll have to go to Chris Peters on that one, but
yeah,
he can flat out play. He is a very good goaltender.
Yeah. But for right now, Elliott, like I said, he's maybe not an elite goaltender for them, but they've got Neuwirth too, so they could just ride the hot hand, or if anyone gets hot. But their defense is young and interesting, and I mean, if guys like Couturier start scoring, I mean, it's just, nothing but gravy. And another name for them we haven't even mentioned this year is Nolan Patrick. I mean, here's a guy who might starting to be coming into his own a little bit for them. So, I mean, if he can be productive for them too, I mean, this is the number 2 pick in the draft. And, that's another guy.
That's someone they didn't even, imagine having too. So that's just kind of also icing on the cake.
Unreal. The draft lottery, they had like the 12th best odds, I believe it was, and they freaking wound up with the number 2 pick. So absolutely just fell in their damn lap. So good for Philly on that one, because he's going to be a nice player, but he wasn't exactly lighting it up to begin the year, but he might be starting to come into his own a little bit. So huge for Philly. It's going to be really interesting because, the Islanders, Rangers, Flyers, Devils, Penguins, and Jackets, they're all behind Washington, but they all have good stuff going for them. The Isles goaltending sucks, but those forwards are the real deal. The Rangers are kind of one of those teams that they can kind of do anything you need to win. Like, they can get the goaltending. They can basically play a boring game and beat you. They can have forwards step up at the right time and get you a big goal. Philly, like we said, has got a young, mobile defense that can score a little bit, and they've got some good forwards. You know, Jersey's got Corey Schneider, and they have a nice little forward group going right now with Heeshear and Taylor Hall and All-Star Brian Boyle and company. So also good, awesome story for him to get to the All-Star game. We forgot to touch on that, but that was sweet to have him there. And obviously Pittsburgh's Pittsburgh, and Columbus has done some good things with Bobrovsky and the talent they have, and with Werenski and a lot of their forwards. So that's a tough ass division. I mean, in the East, it's not really close because it's basically like Tampa, Boston, and Toronto in order, I think, top three. And then it's just a bunch of crap because Ottawa's a shit show. Florida's a shit show. Buffalo's a shit show. Montreal's a shit show. And Detroit's just kind of bland to me. Just kind of like they seem like a team kind of in purgatory to me. Like a guy like Zetterberg, kind of like obviously out of his prime now. And they've got a few good young forwards, but they don't really have good goaltending either. They're just kind of a weird team to me. It's weird. Isn't it weird to see Detroit like this? It's weird.
It is. Also, like, what happened to Peter Mrazek? Is he just like not good?
I have no idea, dude. I have no idea.
Like when they didn't protect him, I'm pretty sure, in the expansion draft. I'm like, what are you doing? And then turns out he's kind of a mediocre par for the course goalie.
Yeah, he got
like you said
1 year.
Yeah, like they do have a few young good forwards. One of them who they didn't sign till like a week before the season because
it's Larkin, Athanasiou, and Mantha, dude. It's not a bad three guys to have, but
yeah, I still laugh about how they took like a year to get him signed, and they still only have him for a year. He's a free agent again,
and he's gonna be unrestricted. That'll be fun. They'll get him signed.
Yeah,
they'll get him signed. But
yeah, you better hope so. But yeah, I was gonna say you're talking. The Atlantic is pretty much decided for the most part. You got Tampa, Boston, Toronto, then the have-nots.
Yeah, it's gonna be 5 teams from the Metro. I mean, if you look right now, Carolina is at 52 points. They are at the ass end of that division, and they are still currently up 6 points on the number 4 team in the Atlantic, which is Detroit/Montreal.
Yeah.
So the Atlantic is pretty much set. So Boston's got a couple of games in hand on Tampa, but maybe a little one playoff matchup that almost looks set is Boston against Toronto, unless Tampa really nosedives down the stretch here. Boston-Toronto would be a fun series because I heard a stat today that Boston, I think it's like since mid-December, hasn't lost a game in regulation.
Yeah.
And
like 18-0 and no. Oh, fuck. I saw the number like an hour ago. God damn it. Whatever. Keep going.
Yeah. All good, man. Needless to say, they're probably the hottest team in the NHL right now. Probably, quite a hot take from me, but Boston's...
I don't know. I'd agree.
Yeah. Boston's... they're a juggernaut right now, and maybe we'll use this to segue into our Marchand talk, but, Boston's got a lot of things going for them right now. Their defense is playing well. They've got Tuukka. Bergeron looks really freaking good. Pasternak's a fucking stud. A lot of good stuff going for Boston. They just seem to really play well as a team, and I mean, they've got a lot of good pieces all across the board. So good for them. And Toronto, obviously, is a very interesting team as well. It looks like, Boston's played 4 less games than them, so they're 5 points back. So Boston would have the home ice there, but a little bit of a different team since they last met in the playoffs. But I mean, based on that whole Game 7 thing from 2013, things have changed for both franchises since that matchup. Obviously with Sagan going to Dallas and Toronto having a few changes. Obviously, Austin Matthews and getting Babcock in there, but still be really fun to see those two in the playoffs again. And I think it'd be a fun matchup. I'd take Boston, but I mean, shit, that'd be fun.
Yeah, I mean that the history, so to speak, adds just a whole extra element that would make it that much better.
Mm-hmm.
You'd like to see them meet may later in the playoffs, but last week you read through all the first round matchups that would if the playoffs started today, even if there is just like a little bit of shifting going on in the standings, it's going to be a great first round, no matter who plays who. Just seeing a playoff series in Vegas. Oh my goodness, that's
and
like
Winnipeg, dude. And Winnipeg is going to be rowdy as fuck.
Yeah, it will. But like, if you thought Nashville was crazy, I can't even imagine what Vegas will be like. It'll be, Jesus Christ.
Well, because you're going to get the road fan element too, because everyone, their brothers, got the same idea. Hey, you know what? If our team plays Vegas in the playoffs, we're going. Yeah. We're going. And we're going to get in one, and we're going. Like,
little geography here. Is T-Mobile Arena, is it on the Strip?
I think it's close by.
It's like a little bit down the road, right?
It's walkable. Yeah.
Oh,
I think it's stumbling distance. Let's just say that. I definitely think it's stumbling distance. Yeah. So
like that just is a great night. You go to the get in one, throw down a couple bets, go watch the Knights, and then go back out again.
I mean, the way it's looking, Vegas could the Golden Knights. I wonder what the odds would have been for this prop bet. The Golden Knights currently have home ice advantage in the West. The road to the Stanley Cup final in the West goes through Las Vegas, Nevada. If you had told me that 5 years ago, I don't know what the fuck I would have said, but I mean, just a hell of a story. I mean, we've talked about it a million times, but I mean, hell of a story. But yeah, if the Blackhawks somehow could get that last wild card spot and play Vegas, I have to be there. I have to be there. That would be ridiculous. I mean, just what an atmosphere that would be. You'd get a lot of fans traveling there. Their fans look great on TV. Obviously, we haven't been there yet for a game, in the inaugural season, but their fans look great on TV, and it seems like the team is already motivated enough, and they thrive even more off, how raucous of an atmosphere that is.
Yeah, not to mention at the beginning of the year, they unfortunately had the Vegas shooting, but they kind of parlayed that into, becoming a better, a more cohesive unit, and we were thinking like, as the weeks went, it's like, they'll regress back to the mean, but they haven't at all. Like ever since, they haven't really slowed down. It's like statistically one of the best. They have one of the best home records in the league. So it's like, for being an expansion team, you'd think, it's going to stop soon, but they're probably the one team everyone's thinking, I do not want to go play playoff hockey in Las Vegas.
My only question is, I wonder how their defense would hold up in a 7-game series. That's my one thing with them, is their defense. I mean, do they have a true shutdown pair for a 7-game series? Is going to be the one thing that I'm wondering about. And it's going to be an interesting deadline for them too, because I think
buyers for sure.
Yeah, but we'll see how much. I think their plan going into the year was, there's no way in hell their front office expected this. Now there's some questions. Like, I think they honestly, I talked about this in the beginning of the year. I think they went in the year thinking we're probably gonna. They picked James Neal to flip him at the deadline. I think they've picked him essentially to parlay that into getting an extra pick or two at the deadline. Some contender, he wants a guy like James Neal who's a lock for 25 goals every year, playoff proven, getting to going deep in the playoffs with Nashville, and he was there with Pittsburgh and stuff too, before they got their last 2 cups. But there's some decisions there that have to be made that I don't think they expected to have to make. So really interested to see what they do. But one thing we do have to cover, we talked about Boston a few minutes ago. We got to talk about Marchand, and I did praise him for the fun he had with the fans, kind of booing his ass at the All-Star game. But we have to talk about that elbow because he's right now currently serving a 5-game suspension. So, he still got to go to the All-Star game, but I don't think hockey fans are going to forget this elbow. Just another incident with him. I'm sure it's been said on a million other hockey podcasts and in the hockey community, but he just seems like a guy that just can't help himself, I guess is the best way to put it. Like he really just can't help himself. I mean, he kind of came into the league. He's just known as that, like the little ball of hate nickname and kind of being a rat on the ice and just kind of getting on their guys' skin and stuff. But he's kind of emerged as like a really good, like top six forward. And obviously he's part of the All-Star game. So, you know, he's a productive guy and a really useful player that any team would like to have, but he's just never going to get the full respect that he commands because people are always going to kind of look at him with like an asterisk because they're going to say, well, you know, he's, you know, really damn good, but he's also just dirty as shit. I mean, I wish he would just kind of cut this shit out of this game because I don't think there's really any argument there. You know, just a flying elbow on a guy when he knew the puck was going to get covered. Just a pretty stupid play. And, you know, I hate to be all PG about it, but, you know, with the way head injuries and stuff are going in all sports, you know, you don't want to see a guy getting an unnecessary, you know, flying elbow to the head. So all in all, really shitty play. So really sucked that he had to, you know, we should be celebrating how fun of a player he's become, but we had to kind of look at his all-star appearance with, well, you know, this guy's kind of an ass on the ice.
Yeah, I think like that's just the way he is. Like you can't really,
it is.
You can't change if you're Martian. You can't change your style because that's what got you here. He's just whenever I see videos of him or some playing or like chirping certain guys on the ice, my immediate thought is just like, why are you like this? Like nobody enjoys a guy playing a guy like that, which I guess is, you know, kind of advantage him.
And that's why he's beloved by his teammates too. But
yeah, but like when you do shit like that, just unnecessarily jump and elbow people in the head, it's you hit the nail on the head. It's just that's when you get sick of it. And like watching the play, I like the replays I saw. I didn't even see the puck coming to the shot. I just saw him jump into Johansson and elbow him. Like it was so unnecessary.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, and that's the thing. And the way the Bruins are going right now, we just talked about it a little bit ago. I mean, they're the hottest team in the league right now. He's having a really good offensive year. He's had a really good last few offensive years. I mean, this is a legitimate, bona fide top six forward that any team would like to have. But yet, we're not talking about Brad Marchand, you know, being an all-star and kind of going from this little rat that no one ever thought would turn into this, you know, guy that would represent his country, you know, and like the World Cup of hockey and make all-star games and stuff like that. I don't think anyone ever expected that out of him. But I mean, here he is a few years later. We, you know, hockey fans should probably be celebrating how well the Bruins are playing right now and kind of the cool story of how he's gone from this basically a, you know, a pest with a little bit of skill to an all-star. Instead, all we're talking about is, you know, kind of the black mark that's on him for this weekend. So that kind of sucks.
Yeah, he was obviously given the choice to go to the All-Star game, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so yeah, it's just a weird situation. It sucks, especially for the Bruins, because, you know, like you just said, that's one of those guys who had been, you know, leading the ship right up there with Bergeron and winning how many regulation or, you know, I think it's like a 20-plus game point streak that they got going is what it is. So to lose such a vital part of your team, you know, going on the stretch, regardless of how, you know, settled the Atlantic already is, like it just isn't very good.
Yeah, definitely.
You're trying to fortify all your lines, get everything figured out. That's what this time of year is for, especially when your division is set like theirs is. So just dumb play, and I guess that's another thing I want to talk about. That was a lengthy suspension. I guess it was sort of deserved, but like
it's the history thing. I mean,
yeah, it is. But like this might just be me, but there are more suspensions given out than in recent years, which makes sense being a new head of player safety. But
yeah, Peros is cracking down. He's cracking down.
He is, but like he gave suspension to Cogliano, which was pretty unnecessary. So he's
They were
just like,
teammates too, which is wild.
yeah. So he's
They
like,
played together, and he still did it.
which I kind of respect because like he isn't really letting
Mhm.
emotion get the best of him, which is what you're
Yeah.
supposed to do. You got to make the tough decision and whatnot.
I think a fine
So
would have sufficed on that one, but
I think it is, but like it also helps going forward. Just it's basically him saying, I won't stand for any of this shit. Like just play hockey, don't be a douche.
well put. Yeah, very eloquently put. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah. So some of these suspensions though have been. All right, let's stop that. Cut that part out. That part.
Okay. Let me see what time we're at.
I
All
didn't
right,
know.
we're at 44 minutes.
Let's talk Yager and shut it down.
All right, that works.
I think we're at a good length.
Yeah, especially since there's really nothing to talk about.
Why don't you jump in and go one? Hey Nick, one last thing you want to talk about? Do you want to maybe talk about Yager going on waivers?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, 3, 2, 1. And one last thing I guess we could talk about is came out early this morning. Jaromir Jagr got put on waivers by the Calgary Flames. To no one's surprise, that whole experiment did not work. So now they're kind of trying to work together to figure out what his next step in his career. Just what are your thoughts on that? You think he's hanging him up for good? He going overseas? What's going on there?
Dude, that's tough. I can't imagine an NHL organization wanting a 44-year-old Jaromir Jagr who was playing sheltered minutes. When he's playing sheltered minutes, he's basically riding shotgun with some of those good young forwards they have, getting a little bit of power play time. And the NHL, it's caught up to him now. And there was a couple years ago where it was kind of the cool story of, oh, he's 40 or 41 or 42, and he can still keep up with these guys and outwork them. And, he had that whole thing where it was still really hard to, knock him off the puck, and the possession numbers and stuff were good with him. Still on the ice. But he's just too slow now. The NHL is such a fast league. He's too slow, and he just can't keep up anymore, and he's just simply not productive. And I can't see a team wanting him. I don't really think that the 44-year-old Jaromir Jagr really enhances any kind of line. I don't really think he's a missing piece to the puzzle. There are, you could use the old cliche adage, well, there's some teams out there that are young and playoff bound that they could use a veteran presence. Well, there's plenty of guys in the league who have played 8 to 10 years who are going to be available that are probably far more productive than he's going to be. So I really think his NHL career is done. I can't see a good team picking him up. So if he does get claimed, it's not going to be by a very good team. And I mean, is any team struggling that bad with marketing and stuff right now that they're going to take him just for the jersey sales? I mean, that's essentially what Calgary did. It almost feels like. I mean, I think they thought he could have a good influence. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, well, you were just going to get into it. I think, Calgary probably wasn't the only team that wanted to do this, but I'm sure anyone that was thinking about signing him was thinking about doing so in the capacity of just like, oh, we want to bring you on, kind of mentor our young guys. And if they could just, kick him out the door once that process is over with. And that's seemingly what's going on in Calgary. Like, you've overstayed your visit, you've done all you can for all of our young guys. Now, time to move on. Not to mention now, how does that affect their cap space? Because if they dump him, then they can, add at the deadline, it can, expand their options in terms of what they can do.
Right. Yeah. I mean, they're sitting in the playoff spot right now. I mean, they're third in the Pacific. So, I mean, I think they genuinely thought he could possibly be productive for them on the very cheap and mentor some of their younger forwards who were, making their own names in the league and stuff. And they played him sheltered minutes on the power play. He could be a good puck protector and kind of, be good for them on special teams, but man, I mean, he's just so fucking slow. I mean, guys like that aren't going to succeed anymore in the NHL. Like you have to have some redeeming quality when you're that slow. I mean, I don't look at Jágr right now and go, wow, like, he's a sniper or something. Like there's some guys that aren't the quickest skaters in the world, but if they find a soft area and they have a good shot, like they could still make a lot of money in the league. And I just don't see Jágr having, at 44 years old, I don't see him out there having any sort of really redeemable quality, that can make up for his lack of speed right now, because I mean, he simply just can't keep up anymore. And it wasn't a problem a couple years ago. And, when Boston picked him up the 1 year and they went to the Stanley Cup and he was still okay for them. And, he had those years in Dallas and Philly that weren't bad. But, I mean, yeah, just kind of that last year in Florida and this little stint in Calgary, just been kind of like, oof. Like, it's just, you know what, Yags, you've made your money. Maybe some team in the KHL give him a few rubles. I think I personally think my prediction, just knowing Jágr, I think done in the NHL would be my pick. And you know what? By the time this episode drops, he might have already gotten claimed by some team we never expected. If it's the Hawks, I'd throw up. But
oh Jesus!
Could you imagine? Oh man, yeah. But my guess would be maybe he goes and plays in the KHL with some random team that'll give him a few rubles, or maybe he goes and plays in some Czech league, in front of, just for the love of the game, like in front of the home fans. Like maybe he joins some Czech team, finishes out the season, kind of ends on a high note. But one more thing I'll add: Jágr at the Olympics.
Ooh, maybe. Yeah.
There's no way the Czech Hockey Federation, or whatever they're called, is going to turn his ass down. No way.
I mean, even thought about that.
If we get Jágr in the Olympics, consider me completely back. I'm all in on the Olympics if Jágr's in it, though. As much as I absolutely just shit on the shell of a hockey player he's become, I'm so back on the Olympics if he's in.
Yeah, like that's most likely what's going to happen.
I think
yeah, I feel like they would not hesitate to dump their worst player that's already on the existing roster and bring on Jaromir Jágr.
Some poor guy. Yeah, but all the players bow down to him. Like I remember the one guy where he got the picture was taken of him by there's like some like 18, 19-year-old girl who was like dating some Czech hockey player, and she like basically took this picture of Jágr, after they'd like banged or something, and it's just like in her bed, and she's like probably like trying to like extort Jágr and like blackmail him, and Jágr's like I don't give a shit, like go ahead, post the picture online. It was like a guy who'd like idolized Jágr, like had sex with like his ex-girlfriend or his it was then start, I don't know what it was, but it was hilarious. So he's well respected. Not like if you can overcome that, you could. Jágr's
got to spot on the roster,
yeah. You got to put him on the roster, because I don't think if they jettison some kid, if Jágr's on the team, that'd be fun. So I'm really
also though, like with the Olympics, I don't know, because with no NHL players, like the teams are just
such a bad event.
They're gonna be that much worse. So maybe Czech's like, oh fuck, we can win this thing.
Oh man,
they're like, nope, no thanks, Jágr.
Dude, that'd be the story of the year if the Czech Olympic team turned down Jágr. Oh man, I couldn't even
suck for Jágr.
The backlash in that country would be unfathomable.
Oh jeez.
So needless to say, though, it's not going to happen. But I'm all in on Jágr in the Olympics. Need it like I need oxygen. So hopefully that happens, because I don't see a team claiming him. I really don't. I don't. Like, name me a contender right now where you go, wow, you know what? If this team adds Jaromir Jágr, I really think that enhances their Stanley Cup aspirations. There's no team. There's no team where he makes them better. Like,
no.
Because the thing is, you have to have some kind of like a defined role, like some kind of like niche, like some added value you bring to a team. Like, what is Jaromir? I'm not trying to. The guy's a fucking legend. Like, I'm not sitting here trying to poop on Jaromir Jagr. Like, the guy's had longevity, and his numbers would be even more gaudy in the NHL had he not, gone to the KHL for those few years in the early to mid 2000s. But seriously, I mean, I don't know what he really adds to you. Like, if you're picking up Jagr, what do you like? Why would a team pick him up for other than like mentoring? Like young forwards. That's what Calgary did, and now it's not even February, and they're already getting rid of him. So I really think it's sad, but I mean, it kind of sucks too because it seems like he's just going to get waived by the Calgary Flames, and that's how Jaromir Jagr's career ended. No disrespect to the Flames, but like who'd have thought you'd ever see Jaromir Jagr in Western Canada? He's just kind of like running on fumes at this point. Who thought it would come down to this? But it kind of sucks he didn't get to go out on a high note, like win a cup somewhere or something, or like at least go on a playoff run. But I really think this is how it ends, and it's sad. This is how it's going to end, but I hate to say it, that's what happens when you just don't give up at age 44. I mean, it wasn't going to end pretty based on how he is right now.
Yeah, there are about 100 other ways that are worse than getting waived that his career could have ended. So,
my mind just went to some dark places when he said that.
Fuck.
He could have fractured his femur behind the net. That would have been worse.
Jeez.
Thanks, Kevin.
You know what I meant.
Yeah, I know. I'm kidding.
But not the way he drew it up. But
yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah.
I have a hunch that he'll play in the Olympics. Like,
yeah, it's got to happen.
They just seem like a country that'll be like, fuck, Jaromir Jagr. Let's get him on.
Absolutely.
Like, we don't care how bad you are. You're Jaromir Jagr.
Well, think about it this way.
You got a spot.
Think about it this way too. Like most of this is not a tournament with NHL players. I mean,
yeah.
So these are a lot of just kind of. Listen, I couldn't sit here and name you even 2 or 3 names off who's going to be on that roster probably, but I mean, you have to think that even with his struggles this year, that he is still a lot better than a lot of the guys that are already going to be on that team. So I don't think he'd have a problem qualifying.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because this ain't an NHL tournament, which we've covered ad nauseum.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anything else you got for this week? Kind of covered a little bit of an all-star recap, state of the emergency for the Blackhawks potentially. Oh, forgot to mention to the folks at home, as a on-the-record gambler. I took the Blackhawks. What the fuck? God, we got that far. What's the
sure.
time? God damn it.
We're at 56 minutes.
All right.
56.
How did that last quote start?
I have no idea. You're talking about like, folks, I'm on the record.
All right, I'll start. I know where I was at. All right, 3, 2, 1. Yeah, so Kevin, I don't know if you have anything else. We covered a number of different talking points today. Obviously, a little bit of a recap of All-Star Weekend and the trilogy of 20-minute games of the 3-on-3 variety and such. Talked a little bit about the state of the union with the Blackhawks. Oh, also forgot to mention to the folks at home, as a on-the-record gambler, I took the Hawks plus 2,800 to win the Stanley Cup. I threw a few shekels on that. I was reeled in by the odds, as well as Corey Crawford potentially skating soon and only being 4 points out of the playoffs. So never in my life did I think I'd see a Kane Taves, Keith Seabrook-led Blackhawks core plus 2,800 to win a Stanley Cup, but here we are. So I threw a few bones on that. So I probably lost that money. Let's be real, but
that's incredible value.
It is incredible value, but
they're if I talk about it, I'm gonna talk myself into the Hawks being back. So I don't know if I want to go there, but like they're one of those teams that if they get in, then like they're
Anything
one of those
can
teams.
happen.
If you get in,
Hot
just watch
goaltender.
out.
Just need a hot goaltender. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, they will definitely not only make the playoffs, but they will also get a gaudy amount of production out of their top forwards, and their power play will be elite in the playoffs. Almost a lock. Can almost guarantee that'll happen. That'll all happen.
I mean, yeah, look no further than the last 2 years.
Yes. Yeah, look no further.
Yeah, that's
yes. They'll have a weak divisional opponents to play in the first 2 rounds. I don't see where this could go wrong for the Blackhawks. So I'm pretty much going to count my chickens on that one. So
yeah. Well, here's a stat for you. Here's a little gambler stat. In the last 3 times the Blackhawks have won the Stanley Cup, they've had at least one black person on the team. Should we cut that?
Yeah, cut that. I'm fucking dying. I can't believe that. That's hilarious. Or should I just say people forget that?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, that's not gonna work. Oh man, that's still an all-time funny quote. Yeah. Oh,
man.
What a lie. It's not wrong. All right. And I'll say, all right. So we got that. All right. 3, 2, 1. But anyway, so talked about the Blackhawks. Obviously Vegas, the Bruins. The competitiveness in the Central and the Metro. And obviously Marchand. So I think we covered everything. So anything you're excited for this week, though? Just ready for
week
games to be back or anything more than that?
Yeah. So I touched on this in my last blog. The Hawks are one of those teams where, they'll win 3 games, then lose 4 of the next 6. So this next string of games for the Hawks is our season, in my opinion. So got to come out strong. You got to string together 2 or 3 or 3 or 4 wins realistically. So, I'm excited for that. And then just hockey. I missed it. It's been a while.
Yes, it's been it was a whole weekend of no regular season games, and I'm lucky to be alive. So, I'm excited for it to be back, and some really interesting. I think the wild card races. I mean, it's pretty much a wild card race now until the end of the year. It seems like a lot of the divisions that are kind of locked in, but there's a lot of really interesting wild card races. I mean, there's a few races for number 3 spot or so in the divisions to get out of that wild card round. Wild card matchups. I mean, not round, but just out of that first round wild card versus division winner thing that they have set up now the last few years. But looking forward to it. And All-Star game weekend was decent. So guess I'm looking forward to San Jose as well. But like I said, I would have taken NHL players in the Olympics over this past weekend, but it's pretty fun. So on that note, Kevin, you have a nice weekend or nice week. Fuck that up. Have a nice week. And hopefully we'll get Danny Boy on the next episode. But for this episode, Nick and Kevin, peace out. See you, buddy.
See you later, buddy.